Hey, I'm Brian, and I wanted to talk about my top five guitar players. Number one on the list, not necessarily in order, but of course, is Tony Iommi of Black Sabbath. A huge influence on me, not necessarily always musically. I don't play heavy metal in all the bands I've been in and most of the compositions I work on, but that attitude and tone and all of the things that he overcame to become the guitar player who he is now are incredible. He laid the groundwork, obviously, for most metal and definitely for me. And even with his limitations, he was an incredibly creative guitar player. So that's really huge for me, no matter what the genre of music is. So yeah, Tony Iommi, number one for me. Number two, Robert Fripp, another huge icon for me. He, throughout all the years, throughout King Crimson, throughout the League of Crafty Guitarists, throughout all his solo work, Frippertronics, all the ambient stuff with Brian Eno, all of those recordings made a huge impression on me. And he definitely took rock music, as far as guitar playing is concerned, and took it to another level as far as technicality and kind of extending the techniques that were employed in rock that would be kind of taken up by more fusion players right around the same time. But as far as kind of what I consider more of a rock guitar player, he was really the guy. So Robert Fripp, one of my favorites, and to this day. So I could say that probably 30 years ago, and these first three would still be in that list if I did this that long ago. Number three, excuse me, is Frank Zappa. And Frank not only is an amazing guitar player, but he just encompasses so many things about music as being like a super idiosyncratic composer, and the same applies to guitar. I like a certain time frame that Frank did a lot of the guitar solo stuff that I like, and that's probably from the mid 70s to like the late 80s, where his were my favorite stuff that he did on guitar as far as tone and stuff like that. And initially, if you would have asked me what I liked about him a couple of decades ago, it'd be different. It would have been the later stuff in the 80s until his death. As far as his guitar playing is what I liked, but now it's kind of shifted, and I like it all. But he's definitely a huge influence on me. A lot of the attitude, a lot of the approach to improvising, the kind of that real kind of vamp oriented stuff, but yet the background's pretty simple in a lot of ways, but what he's doing is incredibly interesting and complicated and has tons of attitude, which I think it's the attitude that I was mostly attracted to. So Frank Zappa, number three. Number four, Raoul Bjorkenheim, who's Finnish American, who is probably one of the newer ones that I have on this list, obviously, but his band Krakatoa was mind-blowing when I first heard the one of the records that someone had just handed to me, and it was like Jimi Hendrix meets all of these kind of Asian-influenced like percussion and amazing bass playing. Great band. The band was incredible, but he was like this Hendrix type player with tons of technique, but it was literally so visceral and big and explosive that huge influence on me. And again, that's attitude. A lot of this wasn't necessarily highly technical, like not super, intricate lines, although those are there to some degree. He is just an amazing improviser and is to this day, and has done tons and tons and tons of different types of compositions and different bands. And he's improvised band The Scorch Trio, Definitely worth checking out. An incredible band that I think he did 4 records with, and they are just a killer band. And he's number 4, and has been for quite a long time. Number 5, I would say this slot, if I can say so, in distilling your favorite musicians down to 5 is kind of an absurd notion. But for me, I thought for simplicity, take 5 at the moment and kind of go from there and see if there's any kind of interaction we can have to see if people have other suggestions. If I went to 25, probably a more complete list that would show other types of players and types of music. But last but not least would be David Torn, who his earlier records and like his trio record with Polytown with Mick Karn and Terry Bozzio, an amazing record. His Clouds About Mercury record, that's a seminal record for me. Definitely, I'm sure most progressive rock fans have heard that, or fans of Bill Bruford, Tony Levin, Mark Isham as the trumpet player, and of course David Torn. And just an incredible record. I listened to it today, and it's still one of my favorite records of all time. And he's gone on to do many other recordings, and he's done a lot of production, and basically lots of soundtrack work as well. But for me, he took the looping and kind of like the ambient kind of guitar principle and kind of stretched it to the outer limits as far as using tons of great fuzz tones, lots of effects, lots of, again, like sampling slash looping. And that's definitely where I'm coming from as far as what I do for fun, is that kind of experience of taking loops and experimenting. But he sees it almost like more of like a producer and in real time. He's so great at manipulating guitar tones in his own performances. And I've seen him quite a few times live, and every time really, really inspirational. So those are my top 5 guitar players, and quickly they are Tony Iommi of Black Sabbath, Frank Zappa, of course, and in between those two would be Robert Fripp, and after that Raoul Bjorkenheim and David Torn. There's tons of others I would add in there, John McLaughlin, Nels Cline, and some others, but I'm going to just stick to those 5, and those are my top 5 guitar players. So thanks for watching, and please subscribe. Thanks.